Whilst on the same first and last date mentioned in another essay, we wandered into the realm of what are your non-negotiables in a partner? Being fresh off a breakup, I had done a considerable amount of stewing in the weeks prior and had formed nothing short of a thesis on my non-negotiables. Unafraid of terrifying the fellow, for reasons also mentioned in my previous essay, I decided to launch into my defense. You know, for practice. Clearing my throat, though not so aggressively as to disturb the cough-sensitive ambiance, I commenced, I believe there are two types of people in the world. People who want to win the lottery and move to an island, and people who think that's hell. I had already lost him, so I happily dug myself in deeper. I continued, some people seem quite content to just get by. They work so that they eventually don't have to work. They take shortcuts when possible. They use all of their vacation days, plus some. And they're just kind of okay to sit on a beach chair and chill. Taking an aggressive bite of now soggy flatbread, I concluded, some people are beach dwellers and others are cliff dwellers, and I just don't know if the two are compatible. There are many differences between beach dwellers and cliff dwellers, but the most fundamental is the compulsion to create. Beach dwellers are motivated by a pleasurable and palatable life. So long as there are sensual pleasures, endearing friendships, or methods of keeping busy, they feel a sense of fullness. Even if their energy is spent on non-generative activities, they register a placid sigh of contentment. Cliff dwellers, on the other hand, have energies and urges that cannot be diffused by simple processes of input and output alone. They are haunted by a potent energy that, much to their discomfort and dismay, cannot be placated with a romance novel on the beach. They require a transformation process to metabolize their energy, an alchemical feat that demands creation. For the cliff dweller, creation is not a nicety, but a necessity. As if by compulsion, the cliff dweller must transpose their emotions, translate their thoughts, and transmute their energy into something outside of themselves. When the cliff dweller lacks a meaningful outlet for creation, they tend to suffer from internal combustions, often manifesting as all manner of physical and emotional discombobulation. Cliff-dwelling status is not necessarily related to success or notoriety. Dog walkers and bus drivers can be cliff dwellers, just as doctors and engineers can be beach dwellers. Instead, the difference manifests in the interaction between their sense of identity and sense of purpose. Said differently, if a cliff dweller won the lottery, moved to an island, and never created again, they would spiral into a vacuous black hole of existential depression. If a beach dweller did the same, they would crack open a coconut and pour some rum. As a cliff dweller myself, I've tried to get on with the beach dwellers. I really have. In fact, I went through a whole romantic phase characterized by life is good types. My hypothesis at the time was, if you have one person who is a gritty cliff dweller, complete with calluses and shin splints from their most recent trek up the mountain, perhaps it is most complimentary to identify a partner who is not this way. To find a partner with baby soft hands and an even tan from rolling about in the fluffy sand. Perhaps this can bring about balance. Well, my hypothesis was tested. I found my status as a cliff dweller, and in particular a cliff-dwelling woman, to be some combination of offensive and terrifying to the beach-dwelling men. I found their apathy to be infuriating, and they found my intensity to be marginally less than attractive. I wanted them to explore the mountains with me, while they wanted me to sit for hours on the beach with them. In short, I found this ionic match to produce surprisingly little chemistry. Lest you think I perceive cliff dwelling as superior, the guilt goes both ways and then some. Take myself, for example. I'm obsessively passionate, compulsively creative, and idiosyncratic to the extreme, all tendencies that are romantically irksome at best. To be honest, I can understand why many people just want a beach chair kind of partner. Sometimes I wonder if I should be that way too. In a relationship, it can be difficult for a beach dweller and a cliff dweller to respect the other's priorities. The beach-dwelling partner often perceives the cliff dweller's priorities as dull and myopic. They accuse the cliff dweller of taking life too seriously and missing out on the true meaning of life, which is enjoyment. In an equal but opposite way, the cliff-dwelling partner often perceives the beach dweller's priority as dull and myopic. They accuse the beach dweller of not taking life seriously enough and missing out on the true meaning of life, which is purpose. And thus, we find these partners at a crossroads, as they hold antithetical views of time well spent and a life well lived. While they may overlap in a great many areas, they may love the same television series, workout routine, or Thai restaurant, this can be a particularly difficult dissonance to overcome. So let's etch away at the question, can a beach dweller and a cliff dweller date each other successfully? My answer is, rather frustratingly, it depends. Anecdotally speaking, the success of a cliff dweller and beach dweller relationship seems dependent on several factors. The first factor is the intensity of the type. If one or both partners exhibit pronounced tendencies of their type, if they are a go-getter or live-laugh-lover to the extreme, reason suggests it may be a bridge too far. It seems there's a greater possibility of a partnership working if both partners embody more tempered versions of their archetype. The second factor is moderating qualities. If a beach dweller possesses qualities that enable them to relate to the cliff dweller, like openness, novelty-seeking, and achievement orientation, or if a cliff dweller possesses qualities that enable them to relate to the beach dweller, like empathy, patience, and gratitude, there may be a greater likelihood of the relationship working. So, what should us cliff dwellers keep in mind while dating beach dwellers? First, our priorities aren't perfect for everyone. They're perfect for us. Cliff dwellers tend to assume that the methods that work for us shall work for all, and this is devastatingly, objectively false. Our priorities may not fit into a beach dweller's life and may in fact be damaging to their well-being. Next is the recognition that the world needs both types. The planet would immediately burst into flames if everyone was a cliff dweller. Us cliff dwellers should thank heavens that not everyone is like us, as the beach dwellers hold an essential role in maintaining the stability of life and the predictability of relationships. And finally, mutual respect is the singular non-negotiable. If you and your beach dweller are capable of mutually respecting each other's attitudes towards life and work, then you have a real shot. If one or both of you views the other with disdain, then it's probably time to cut your suntanned lover loose. At the end of the day, if a beach dweller and cliff dweller fall in love, perhaps they can meet on a sea stack. I suppose there is always a compromise between land and sea. After all, maybe what us cliff dwellers really need is a little more live, laugh, and love in our lives.